So in this series, actually, I will try to explain microservices design patterns in practice. We'll be doing the work ourselves. And we'll use Java, Maven, and Spring Boot. The reason I'm using Spring Boot, it makes it so easy to be able to build a service, and it will be local host, so it will be your computer. You don't need to go to the internet or the cloud. We will create mocks and actually services ourselves. And in this video specifically, I will show you how easy it is to build a microservice from scratch. So the first thing, you need to go to start.spring.io. This is the initializer, and over there choose Maven project, Java, and whatever the default 2.4.2 right now. Put the group, put the artifacts, and then after that we will move to the dependency and choose, of course, jar and Java 11. Now we add a dependency. So the dependency is very important. You can have just a microservice definitely with only the REST endpoint. So we'll add the web for the REST endpoint, but we will try to have kind of complete microservice, which consists of the REST endpoint, so you can communicate. It could be GraphQL, of course, but here we'll try with REST, and then the database. So the smallest microservice, complete microservice, will be endpoint to be able to interact with it, database, and cache to be able to be in memory cache. Here I will add Lombok, and I will show you why we're adding it. Just by annotation, you can add a lot. You can save a lot of code, like the getters and setters and other things. But I will explain this as we go. We just add it to the microservice for now, so it will be easy for us to understand and code. Here, you go to continue the work. So you choose the dependency and you start adding the web, which will add the endpoint, add the GPA, which is the database, add the H2, which is the cache, and then let's add Lombok. After you finish adding Lombok, you click on generate. When you click on generate, actually it will download the package as zip file compressed. After that, let's take the when you click generate and download the file, let's try to click on the file and see what it contains. It actually, when you decompress the file, you will find that the file context actually everything is built. So just decompress it and it will create the user microservice for you. And if you look at the source, you will find that it has the of course the source, the Java application code. And after that, we need to install all of those. So it created the dependency under a file called pom.xml. So we'll go there and change the mode for, you might need to do that if you are in Mac, mvnw, which is the Maven. That will install, and then you do clean install. I'll skip the test to be faster. So this is the command that we will execute in the next screen. Now when you open the terminal, do ls inside the directory. You can see that, make sure that you have the mv and this is created by actually by Spring Boot. Here's the pom.xml. And if you open the project, try to set the enable. This is IntelliJ. I'll give another video about how to do IntelliJ, but go to the preferences and under the build execution, compiler, annotation processors, and enable annotation processing, because this will help us in Lombok that we can just add the annotation. And also make sure that the Lombok plugin is installed, and you can see here on the left side what Lombok can do, the getters and setters. It adds a lot of things for you by just those annotations that you can add to the code. Now let's create quickly a REST API. As I said, the microservice, it's useless without an endpoint that you can interact with. So we'll create a REST API quickly that will return the microservice name, and just to show how it works in action. So just repeat with me. So here we'll create the controller. We'll explain everything about what you're doing now later, but now let's do it quickly. We'll add the REST controller. This is a controller for the REST API, and then we add something called get mapping for the get, because the browser will send a get command. Watch the video that I had before about what's REST APIs, and then you have, this is the URL that you will have extension for. It's called server name, and then you add this get service name. It will return user microservices. And now let's go to the browser, and when you go to the browser, just run first. So let's run the service first, and when it runs, actually it will start at service. It will start as service Tomcat server, and you can get by going to this URL, localhost port 8080. This is where it starts the server, and you put server underscore name. This is what we've had. Of course, you can have whatever URL you want, the resources extension, and it will return user microservice. And now you have a full microservice with an API. It's not a full microservice, but the smallest microservice with an API that you can call into, and it will return back something to you using the get command. I recommend that you watch the video that explains the REST, what's REST API, in less than a minute. And the next step is to add the MVC, model view controller. Now let's add the MVC, the model view controller. Now let's create the model. We'll create a package. Well, we call it web.model. We'll create the model there, which is actually a user class. So let's create a new Java class, and let's call it user. And inside this user class, we will create actually two attributes. One is the ID and the other is the username. So let's create those two to private UUID, which is the ID, and then a string, another private string. We'll call it username, and then after that we'll use the magic of actually Lombok by having the decorator that's called add data. This by itself, it's, as you can see here, it's Lombok. It will add import Lombok data. Actually, this will add for you the setters and getters automatically, which will save a lot of code that you would write. And then after that, we will add also no args constructor and all args constructor. Those simply will add constructor that takes all arguments, and constructor that the constructor that without any arguments in the parameters, as you can see. It has dependency. Let's now execute the command that I showed you, the clean install. When you click enter, it will take just a few minutes and it will install everything. It's maven w clean install, and I'll skip the tests, as I said, because it will take shorter time, so we can have the video run faster. So here it will go and execute, and at the end it will finish. It just didn't take much time, like 2 seconds, 2.8 seconds.